Alright, in this lesson we'll be talking about Amazon Elastic Block Store, EBS. What is Amazon Elastic Block Store? This is a high performance block storage service offered by Amazon Web Services. It provides persistent block level storage that can be attached to your EC2 instances, making it suitable for various workloads requiring low latency disk I/O, such as database, virtual servers, and other data intensive applications. Pretty much it acts like a hard drive in the cloud that can persist data even after the EC2 instance is stopped or terminated. So the whole idea here is you Elastic Block Store refers to disk storage, pretty much that will be attached to your instances. By default, when you initiate an instance, in what you've seen in our previous video, you see that there's an 8 gig volume attached to each instances, and once you terminate that instance, the block store is terminated immediately. But there's an option where you can deactivate disable that feature on termination, to say that the block store shouldn't be terminated. So it means that you can preserve your block store away from your more or less like detaching your block store from your instance termination process. So what is block store? Block storage divides your data into blocks and stores them in a separate pieces, each with a unique identifier. This is ideal for operating systems, database management, like MySQL and PostgreSQL, applications requiring low latency access. And alright, the features are easily described here. Persistent, data stays available after instance shutdown. It's durable and reliable. It's scalable. You can say that you can scale from volumes 1 gig to 16 terabytes. You can encrypt it, then it has snapshot support, so it actually means that you can back up your EBS and attach it to a different EC2 instance, as the case may be. So it's attachable, so you can attach and detach volumes to and from your EC2 instance. So these are different types of volumes. You have the GP3, that's general SSD, and this is for balanced performance. Most times this is what you'll be using. And you have the IO2, IO1. These are high performance SSD for database driven volumes. So you have ST1 throughput, you have SC1 code HHD. So the throughput are for streaming data, logs, and big data. The code HHD, which is SC1, they are for infrequent access. Those kind of volumes that you want to use for archival purposes. So the basic workflow, you can launch an EC2 instance, create an EBS volume, attach volume to the instance, mount the volume inside an EC2. So what that means is you can have your EC2 already having a volume attached to it, and you want to mount another volume. So we can see this in another class, where you have two volumes attached to an instance, and you've mounted one such that it handles media files and what have you. So you can use it for storage. You can take snapshots for backup. You can store this backup in S3. You can use them to restore, clone, a particular volume. So when it comes to use cases and security, you can do encryption at rest, using what we call AWS key management service. This will also be discussed in another class. IAM policy, so to restrict volume creation attachment. So while you create account for other users, you want to be able to determine who can create a volume, who can attach a volume or delete a volume. So typical use cases are running a MySQL database. So you can create an EC2 instance, set up, attach a particular volume to it, and that's running the MySQL database. Hosting an application that requires a high disk input output. Store logs and application backups. Create durable storage for a containerized app using ECS or Kubernetes. So that's that. This is everything we'll be talking about on EBS. Just hang on and let me show you how this is done using some hands-on. Thank you. Alright, quickly, I'm logged into my dashboard, and I'll be showing you how to create a volume on AWS. Now there are multiple ways of creating a volume. You can by default, when you are launching an instance, you have the liberty to create a volume. So here I say I want to create an instance website app. While I am selecting my image type, instance type, selecting, I don't need a keep here, I just want to show you how this would work. So allow HTTP traffic. So here you can see the configure storage. So here this is the default volume, and you can see the type is general purpose 3. That's the GB3, which is the default. And if I intend to add additional volume, to say I need another 10 gig to my root volume, so this is where you can see that it's an EBS volume, and voila, I can do that and launch my instance. Now pretty quick, saying that the instance has launched. That is the name of the app, which is website app. I can quickly go to my volumes. Alright, so you can see the volumes that have been created. I have 2 instances running, and that's responsible for these 2 8 gig volume sizes. Then I have a 10 gig, which is the new one I just created, and you see clearly that these instances are attached to this. These volumes are attached to different resources. So while this is still loading, you can see clearly that this particular instance is for website app, and this new instance, this new volume rather, is for the same instance website app. So this is you creating additional volume for your instance. Now in another topic, we'll be seeing how to mount this volume to your instance, but in the meantime, let us see how to just create a volume. So we have 2 instances here. I have a website app. We already have 2 volumes attached to this. Then we have testing server. That's another instance, and you need to be very clear, because once you want to add an EBS to any instance, you need to be sure that you're in the same availability zone. So I can say that this is EU not 1C, that is Europe, Stockholm's, EU 1 not EU not 1 rather. So I can come down here and create a volume. I click on create volume. I select the volume type. I can choose the disk space. This time I can say I want a 50 gig disk space, or what the case may be. Let me just say I want 15, and I need to be certain that I'm within the same availability zone. I can't create this volume in a different availability zone, and I expect that my volume would be attached to the instance conveniently. So this is snapshot ID. Don't create volume from a snapshot. So another thing is, we'll see how to create snapshots. Snapshot is like creating a backup of a particular volume, just like creating backup for a particular hard disk. And in this case, is a case where if I'm creating a volume and I want to create a volume from a snapshot, meaning that I want it to use a snapshot to create a volume. That way is like restoring a snapshot. But however, in this case, I'm not doing that. I want to encrypt the volume. We'll talk about encryption in the later class, but let's just create a volume. Now I've just created a volume of 15 gig. You can see that every other volume says it's in use because it's attached to a particular instance. So in this case, this volume have been created, but it's not attached to any instance. So I want to attach this volume to the instance test server. So I can hereby select that, click on the action, and attach volume. Now here I have to select the particular instance I want to tie that volume to, and you can see now this instance is not available because the volume I created is not within the availability zone of that instance. Remember I mentioned that in the screenshot where the page where we had the create volume. So I'll quickly go back. So this is an error. However, it's good that we are experiencing that now. So we need to be certain that our availability zone is on EU01C, because that is where the instance is. So I'll take you through the journey of actually deleting a volume. So if you don't need a volume again, this is how you delete the volume. But most time, once a volume is attached to an instance, you have to detach the volume from the instance. So if you go back to the volume we created for website app, the 10 gig, I would have to obviously detach it first. So I'll have to detach the volume from the instance before I delete it. So just make or have a safe delete of any instance we've created. So in this case, I would select this, and so it's not detaching. I do a force detach. This forces the detach. Okay, so why we're saying this, okay, says that the volume is in an available state, meaning that it's not attached to any instance. So I can now delete this. That's quick. So now I can choose to create a new volume. First I need to ensure that it's within the same availability zone as the instance I want to attach it to. So I create this instance, create the volume rather. So here I can now attach that volume. Okay, I need to wait for the volume to be fully to be in a available state, meaning ready for use. At the moment it's still creating. So yes, it's available now. So I can then attach this volume to my preferred instance. So this time I'm attaching it to test server, and it will just probably ask you to select how you want the device to store the volume. These are just how Linux internally define like a directory or directory for that particular volume. So voila, I've created a volume. I've attached the volume to an instance, and from the instance I can now worry about formatting it and mounting it into, just the same way you format a hard disk and mount it into the EC2 instance. But that will be a subject for another class. So pretty quickly, that's how you create and attach volume to an instance. So let's quickly look at snapshots. Snapshots are, well, I want to create a snapshot of a particular instance or the volume of an instance. So usually what you do is just come to snapshot and create snapshot. So snapshot is pretty much saying you're creating a backup. So what am I creating a snapshot for? Is it a volume, or I want to create multiple volume snapshot for an instance? So I just stick to this particular volume. So I would definitely know the volume I'm referring to, and if it were to be a particular instance, I pick up this instance saying that this is what I want to create a snapshot for. These are additional information. So if I want to exclude the root volume from the snapshot, otherwise I just leave all this as it is. So I can call this backup of websites, backup of test server. This way I can create that snapshot. Pretty much usually when you want to create a snapshot, it's smart that you create the snapshot of a volume. But creating the volume, creating a snapshot of the instance, what this has just done for me is to create the snapshot of both volumes, because that particular instance has multiple volumes. So I'm creating a snapshot of those volumes. Now in the case where I now need to restore a particular volume from a snapshot, or I want to create another volume, I can create a volume from a snapshot. So what this means is that I have restored a backup of a particular volume. So this is a typical example of you creating snapshots. So snapshots are like backups of a just to keep it simple. I'm sure if you're used to backups and snapshots, you understand what I mean. But for those who are new to snapshots, it's more or less like saying like a particular state of your hard disk. You are backing it up at that particular point. So that's creating a snapshot. And if I decide that, well, I want to create a new volume, meaning I want to create a new hard disk or a new disk, a new external disk that will be attached to any of my instances, I can create volume, and I decide to create that volume from a snapshot. So these are snapshots that I've had within the system, but however, I can just refer to the particular snapshot I want to, which you can already see that by typing similar keywords to what I've used to describe the snapshot. I can pick it up from there, and I select that snapshot and I create my volume from that snapshot, meaning that this volume will not be empty, it will be a replica of the snapshot that I've created. So this is it about volumes. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next.